So I am getting started on a fun chalk paint project. I picked up this coffee table a few years ago and we've left it as is. It was a Lego table and a craft table, and now we are ready to make it a coffee table in our family room. So I am going to start this chalk paint project this afternoon. So I want to share with you what I picked up to start this project. I went to my local Annie Sloan distributor and got chalk paint. I am doing it in French linen. I already had some soft wax. A little goes a long way, so I've had this for a few years and it lasts a long time. And then I will be using a whitewash to get the effect that I want. I also picked up a wax brush. You can use your own brush, but I wanted to invest in a really nice brush. People rave about these brushes, and I have another project after this, so I was willing to make the investment. And then I also picked up the recommended paintbrush for the project. Now, the nice thing about using chalk paint is that you do not need to sand your project before doing it. That is the advantage of using chalk paint versus just a regular paint for a repaint project. So the only thing I need to do is I do need to wipe with a damp cloth the entire surface free from dust and dirt. So I'm just about finished with that, and now I'm going to start the painting. I wanted to show you when it comes to the painting that I like to use a bowl and pour a little bit of the paint into a bowl at a time. It's a lot easier to work. You could certainly work directly out of the can, but I do find it a little bit less messy and just a little bit easier to manage when you use a bowl for the project. So this is what the French linen looks like. Just open the container, and I wanted to give you a little look on the color. It's a more of a warmer gray color. They also have another gray that is a little bit more on the cooler side, but I wanted it to have a little bit warmer tones to it. So now I'm getting started on the first coat. You just have to dip a little bit in. Covers really well, so you don't need to get it super thick, just the top, the tip of your brush, and you are just getting the whole surface covered with the paint. You don't even need to go the same direction. You are just trying to cover it. You're going to do 2 coats like this. When we get to the whitewash process, you will be doing it in one stroke, one direction, but right now you are just trying to cover the entire surface. But I want to tell you, this brush is amazing. I've used just regular paint brushes in the past for my chalk paint projects, but this goes on so easy, and you really just need a little bit. And I like it because you can just really reach into all the little corners of your project. So I definitely recommend spending the extra money to get the recommended brush. So I am all done with the first coat of paint. The nice thing about this paint is that it dries really quickly. So I will be able to do my second coat of paint later today. What I love about the Annie Sloan Chalk Paint is that it covers up all those scratches and any imperfections on your table. So once I put the second coat on, you will not see any of those things. Just a couple hours later, and now I'm ready to start on the second coat of paint. I just love how chalk paint just dries so fast. It doesn't leave any residue a couple hours later, and it also does not smell inside your home, so it's a really nice paint. I've always done my paint projects in the house with no problem. So I just want to show you what 2 coats looks like. You can see these 2 slats here have 2 coats, and these still need their second coat. So that second coat really makes a difference and really smooths things out. So now that I have the 2 coats all painted, I am going to use the wax. This is the kind of wax that I use, and this goes a long way. I've had this for all of my projects, 1 container. And then what I usually use is a spoon or a fork. I only had a fork, and I scoop out some wax and I put it into a bowl, and then I'm going to be using this brush and just dipping a little bit onto the brush, and then just painting a very thin coat of wax right onto the table. So I've got just a little bit on my brush, and then I am just brushing it right on to the table, but you can see where I've put the wax on. It's a really thin coat, and you do not need a lot. So I just wanted to show you as I'm working along what the wax looks like and the unfinished side, and you can see what a difference it does make. I still have to kind of go over it, but it's really easy to see where you've waxed and where you need to touch up. And if you end up with a little extra wax, sometimes I'll have little like flecks of the wax. You can just take a rag and just brush it right off, and it'll smooth it right on. On the second day of the project, and the paint is dry and the wax is also dry as well. Now this is the point that you could leave the project as is. You could consider it done, and put it where you want it. You do want the wax to dry for 5 to 21 days, so you would not want to rush back and put a lot of things onto the table. You want to let it cure on its own. So now you could decide to do one of a few things. You can leave it as is. That is the first thing. The next thing you could do would be to give it a little bit of distressing, and you would take a piece of sandpaper and just kind of rough up some of the edges or just little spots that you want. And you can start small and then keep adding until you get the distressed look that you want. And then the last thing you could do would be to add a whitewash to it, and that is what I'm going to do. I will show that in the next video, but that is the third thing you could do, is to add a little bit more, another dimension to the table with a whitewash. So that is it for this video. I wanted to show you how it is not that hard, even for beginners, to chalk paint a table. And even though I've been doing it for a few years, I still consider myself a beginner. There's a lot to learn, but it really is not that hard to get started. Once you know the basic techniques, then you just want to get going.